Going back in time here, on July 31st, 1809, General John Stark, New Hampshire's most famous general of the American Revolution, gave a toast, "Live free or die." You probably haven't heard what followed that famous remark. It's, "Death is not the worst of evils." What John Stark declared in that simple phrase, "Live free or die, death is not the worst of evils," is that oppression, tyranny, the strong arm of government rule can be far worse than death, because without our liberty, our freedom to make choices, we are in prison. And when liberty dies, evil rises. How else can you describe what is happening in America today? The new segregation is underway. The vaxxed versus the unvaxxed is portrayed as good versus evil. But in a free society, no one should be judged off the well-intentioned choices they make for themselves and their families. But Joe Biden and his cast of tyrants seek to exploit the virus, to control the people who cherish freedom, to squash their American values of independence. What the Biden radicals didn't account for is this: a revolt.
People should have the right to make their own health care decisions in this country. That's a basic human right.
These people think they're working for the public when the public is only showing up to tell them to stop.
We will not comply. We will not comply. We will not comply.
They say my body, my choice. Now, I mean, when it's convenient.
It makes me terrified for us. Really, I am very terrified for our state.
Well, across America, freedom fighters like that you just saw there are refusing to remain silent, while our own elected leaders insist on compliance and obedience. This is not what we ever expected from an American president and his minions. Watch this.
Many of us are frustrated with the nearly 80 million Americans who are still not vaccinated.
This is really becoming a pandemic of the unvaccinated.
What we really need to do at this point is to make vaccination the easy choice. It needs to be hard for people to remain unvaccinated.
Unvaccinated people are the ones who are driving this pandemic.
Is it time to get tougher with mandates and make life less pleasant for the unvaccinated?
I mean, look, here's how I feel about it. People have got to be responsible. Folks just need to get vaccinated.
All right, well, look, this is how I feel about it. This is America. Yet their mandates and their threats are un-American, leaving me dismayed that we now need to take cues from a nation once plagued with corruption and on the brink of socialism. We need to take cues from Brazil.
Has a president who believes in God, respects the Constitution, values family principles, and is loyal to her people.
Well, that is Brazil's President Jair Bolsonaro. In Trump-like fashion, he has turned his nation around by embracing freedom. His first move as president was to restore gun rights in his country, not limit them, sending a strong signal to the people that they come first, not the government. Today, almost 3 years into Bolsonaro's presidency in Brazil, Brazil now has renewed credibility on the world stage. Bolsonaro shunned socialism, embracing the private sector. The nation's largest ports, both air and sea, are now run by private entities. State-owned companies, once facing billions of dollars of debt, are now profitable. Why? Because Bolsonaro forced them to embrace capitalism and private contracts. Brazil is seeing explosive job growth, and Bolsonaro doesn't credit himself, he credits freedom.
Human beings' freedom can only be complete, is only made complete with freedom of worship and freedom of expression.
Now, wouldn't it be great if we had an American president right now who would be willing to utter those same words? We don't. Yet in Brazil, with no mandates or fear of retribution, 90% of the adult population is vaccinated. And again, no federal mandates.
My administration has not supported a vaccine or health passport or any other vaccine-related obligation.
Well, the mainstream media vilifies him for all that. But unlike Joe Biden, Bolsonaro supports the doctor's right to make their own decisions on treatment, insisting the doctor-patient relationship should never be infringed upon. What a novel idea, right? Neither should, he says, off-label treatments like the use of ivermectin and hydrochloroquine and other drugs, which is turning out to be quite effective, by the way.
We cannot understand why many countries, together with a large portion of the media, took a stance against early treatment measures. History and science will certainly be wise enough to hold everyone accountable.
History and science will be wise enough to hold everyone accountable. It's a brilliant line that I do believe will come true. So I ask you this. Why is it that a Brazilian president acts more like an American president too? So for all of you that can't see the hypocrisy in the left's war on freedom, let me offer you this. If President Trump first supported vaccine mandates and passports, 100% of the people supporting those mandates and passports today would have been against them if it was President Trump's idea, all because they originate from Donald Trump. For those of us who are currently against the mandates and against passports, guess what? 100% of us would still be against them, even if they came from Donald Trump. That's the difference between us and them. They live by politics. We fight for freedom, leaving me in agreement with General John Stark. I fear Democrat tyranny and oppression far more than I fear death.
Grant Stinchfield is on Newsmax every night, fighting for the America First agenda.